Hello, July here again. Did you know that April 2005 is historically called the Desert Month? Let me explain why. In April 2005, the Canadian desert was expanded 4 times, doubling or maybe even tripling in size by the end of the month. Now you are probably wondering how big was it in March then, and how much gameplay area was added to it in April? Well, have a look at this map which displays the situation just a little bit earlier. As you can see, really the only points of interest are the Badabin camp, the desert mining camp, and the dungeon entrance that leads to the Calphite Queen. Yes, she's an old lady. You can also see in the bottom left corner what would later become the bandit camp. So let's then continue with these expansions, one for every week throughout the month of April 2005, and let's have a look at how these affected the gameplay experience. I should mention here that each expansion was tied to a new quest. It all started when the Feud quest was released on the 4th of April of 2005. In this quest we visit the Polnivniak area for the first time, a city that was added to the game on the same day. This went hand in hand with the introduction of the blackjacking thieving method. People soon discovered that it allowed high XP rates, although a considerable difficulty was the high click intensity at that time. While theoretically 280k XP per hour could be gained, in reality reaching 250k was already difficult. The only alternative thieving methods at that moment, however, were the pickpocketing methods, all of which did not even reach an XP rate consisting of 3 digits. So this new blackjacking thieving method was quite important for the high level skilling community. Important to add here is that the city didn't have a Slayer Master for more than 3 years because Simona was added to the game in June of 2008 as part of the Smoking Kills quest. Next is the Golem quest, which was released on the 11th of April of 2005. This quest has to be started in Uzur, which is a new area as well. Important to note here is that the addition of Uzur created the river Alit. This is also when we discover the Desert Phoenix that would play a more important role after the release of the Extreme Potions in 2009. As Uzur is quite far away from El Kharid, the carpet transportation system began to play an important role as well at this stage, which had been added to the desert on the same day as the Feud quest, by the way. Keep in mind that there was no way to teleport into the desert at that point. The biggest update of that month, and perhaps of the entire year, followed on the 18th of April, when the famous Desert Treasure quest was released. This is the first time that we could visit the large southwestern part of the Canadian desert. The dangerous Smoky Well dungeon in the desert is also a new area that was released on the same day. Of course, there was also the new Desert Treasure Pyramid, which is where the rewards are unlocked for completing the quest. And that's where it gets interesting, because one of these rewards is access to a new combat-based magic spellbook called Ancient Magics, containing the very powerful multi-combat spells. The release of that spellbook had a huge impact on the game, affecting not only the magic skill, but also the PvP and PvM communities. The Ice Barrage spell eventually became one of the most iconic and historically significant magic spells of the game due to its devastating power in multi-combat areas. Fighting monsters by using the new Ice Barrage spell, which is also commonly referred to as barraging, could at that time result in XP rates of 200k XP per hour. I should also mention that the Bandit Camp was added to the game on that day as well. The release of the Desert Treasure quest is definitely one of the most significant updates ever, and yes, it was even bigger than the release of the God Wars Dungeon 2 in 2016. Then the last quest and the last expansion came with the release of Ictlaren's Little Helper, which is a quest released on the 26th of April of 2005. The quest can be started near Sophanem, east of the river Alit. During the quest, we explored the most southern regions of the Canadian desert. It's important to add here though that the Pyramid Plunder minigame was not part of the update yet. That minigame would be released more than a year later. So upon the original release of Sophanem, the city wasn't really important yet, other than for the game's lore of course. Now I'm sure that you'd all like to see how big the desert had become by the end of April 2005, so here is a world map from just a little later. I have added the release dates to make it easier to see what changed and when it changed. As you can see, April 2005 was definitely the desert month. which saw some huge additions to the game, and then I'm mainly referring to the Ancient Magic spellbook and the blackjacking thieving method. So there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, then a thumbs up would be appreciated. Thank you for watching. I am July, and I hope that you will come back for more.